Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everyone. My name's Dawn Fackler. I'm the grief recovery coach and a hospice nurse. And I'd like to introduce you to Yvonne Heath. She has a 27-year nursing career. She's worked in Canada and the US and in many areas, including the emergency room, chemotherapy, long term care, and hospice. She became disheartened by our society's reluctance to talk about, plan, and prepare for grief, transition, and end of life, and wanted to create change. And that's basically where I'm at as well. She founded Love Your Life to Death in 2015, and she continues to share her message with humor and heart. Uh, she's written a book, and she's here.
And I'm
So,
here.
and you're here.
And I'm here. Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yay.
So great to be here, Dawn. Thank you.
So, we were discussing before how nobody talks about grief, and everybody is scared of it.
Mm.
And I don't understand where I think my biggest thing is too, everybody thinks if they grieve that it's shameful and that you have to be prepared or you have to be strong, not
Mm.
you can't break down.
Hmm.
What do we got here? Okay. So your thoughts?
Trust me, I just wait because it's kind of like, I don't know, pulling like a pull toy or something. You launch me and I can't stop. So you have to just tell me when to stop talking because it's interesting, when you say we don't talk about grief and it's shameful and we want to be strong for everyone. And as you know, I know you watched my TED Talk, and that's what I did for many, many years in my nursing career, right? I was trying to be strong for my family and be strong for patients and be strong for their families and pretend I was fine when I wasn't. And it slowly chipped away at my heart and my soul.
Mhm.
Except I kept pretending I was fine, especially I worked in chemotherapy for 15 years. So there's tremendous grief, hope, loss, all of it all swirled into one. But it's funny because a life a life's event, as sometimes happens, like our son went down a road of drugs and addiction when he was 16, and it's interesting because he's about to be 31 and still navigating this journey. And what I realized though at that time, so many years ago, I was in healthcare and people knew that, that we were struggling with this, and there was no hiding it because he was getting in trouble at school with the law. It was everywhere. He came to the emergency room. And when you talk about shame, it's like at that time, it's like, oh my gosh, like everybody knows our story. And I felt so much peace letting that go because it's just our story, right? I don't feel ashamed of our story. I don't feel anything, but it's our story. But what happened was people were avoiding us. And right, people are nodding. It's like, yeah, they were avoiding us because it was such tremendous angst and grief and made people uncomfortable. And I think if you're uncomfortable, can you imagine how we feel? Like, hello. And my husband's a paramedic, and people were like either avoiding us or saying, hey, how's Ty doing, as they're like running away. It's like, oh. So we got to the he's fine, right? Things are okay, thanks for asking. If you need anything, let me know, right? You know that? It's like, if you need anything, let me know, as they're running away. And I just thought, like, what's wrong with this picture? I mean, we're in freaking healthcare, right? And so I just kind of I had to pause and say, I went to work and I did. I said to people, like, are we well prepared for like grief, transitions, challenges, crisis? And everyone's like, oh my God, no, we're terrible at it. And why are you asking? And stop talking about this and go start your IV. And it just became too much for me to bear, to keep pretending I was fine when I wasn't, to, go through many things. And the thing is that when you're going through one thing doesn't mean other things aren't going to happen. right? Doesn't mean your dog isn't going to die or your grandmother becomes ill or like all these things. And I felt this like crushing isolation. And so I needed to do something different. And that's where I was just like, I started pacing in my house. Oh my gosh, like we don't talk about this stuff. And like we need to be better. And there's a pop-up on Facebook, how to write a best-selling book. And I went, oh my God, that's it. I'm gonna leave my nursing career and write a book. And here's the biggest thing, Don, that changed everything for me is when my poor husband, when he caught his breath, because he's like, well, that's great, honey, except like you don't even journal. I said, I know, isn't it amazing? And I was like that kooky author in the forest. I stopped blinking and I was just like, it was like 27 years of silence and being strong for everyone and pretending I was fine when I just came like pouring out.
Almost like
Then,
diarrhea of the mouth.
oh my gosh, it was just like, and I'd be like, I'd be typing and our twins would have to have, need breakfast. I'm like, Mom's got an idea, feed yourselves. And I was just like, they're like, oh my God. But everything really changed when I sent out one email and I said, I want to write a book and I don't want surveys and statistics. I want people's real stories of being in the deep trenches of grief and crisis and trauma and how what was helpful, what wasn't, and how you got to the other side where life was worth living again. Will anyone share their stories with me? So that was 10 years ago. Now, can you imagine what happened? Like I didn't think anyone, yeah, right. I didn't think anyone would even share their story with me. The stories haven't stopped coming. The stories haven't stopped coming because everyone is so fearful. And why are you talking about that? And people want to minimize it. And that happened a long time ago. Why are you bringing that up? Aren't you over that yet? And people just wanted to be heard.
That's what I
I
was
was,
gonna say. Yeah,
right?
everybody I talk to, it's like nobody wants. They're like, I shouldn't talk about it,
I shouldn't talk about it. It makes everyone uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, it's not about them.
and they
Um,
just want to hear. They want to be heard.
here's the biggest thing is that everyone thinks that like we've medicalized and professionalized everything. So everyone, it's not from not caring, although that's what it seems like, right? It's not from a lack of compassion. It is fear and fear that you are going to make a situation worse because you're not qualified. You do not have a PhD. And here's the thing, right? It looks like Lisa's talking, but she's muted. But here's the thing is that we do not need a PhD to love and support people and to say, I don't know what to say, but I'm here. This is hard. I'm a mess too. Tell me more. I'm here to listen. I will be sad. Like people would say to me, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Like, what if I make them cry? And you know what?
Crying anyway.
Right. Well, you're crying anyway. And I promise, Lisa, like we'll make time for people to chat, right? For sure. Because that's so important. I mean, I am continuously learning, unlearning, and evolving, and I learn from everyone I hear from. But that's the thing, like we don't feel qualified and we're so afraid to make it worse. And and the other piece is that we don't want to bother people or burden them, and they don't want to interfere because the whole privacy thing. And I'm like, let's just throw the whole, it's like if I'm having a struggle now, you better be ready to hear the truth. 'Cause I'm gonna pour it all out, and it is not your job to judge or to fix it.
That's what I
We
always
can
say.
all do this.
Yeah, but I just when somebody asks, I'm like, okay, are you sure you really want? Because once I start, it's like you said, it's diarrhea of the mouth. It all comes out.
Yeah. And you don't have to fix it. That's the beauty, right? But here's the thing. How do we get good at anything? If we want to play volleyball, if we want to, like, how do we get good at anything? People can put it in the chat too if you want. We have to practice. We have to practice. We have to do it wrong and try again. We have to get coaches. We have to learn. We have to make mistakes. And yet, when it comes to the hardest part of this journey, grief, dying, death, hard times, we avoid. And then we wonder why we don't know what to do or say. it's kind of silly, right? When you think of like, why would we be good at this? Like, we don't talk about it. And my whole thing is to be like proactive. Let's talk about it. Let's not wait till we're in crisis to have these conversations, because that's usually when we do. I don't want to talk about this. So, well, I promise you, if you wait till you're in a crisis or someone is dying or you're really struggling, it has to be talked about. Like, we can't not talk about it. We can talk about it before, during, and always, or we can wait until we're in crisis and then shut it down and suffer in silos of silence and isolation.
And I love that, like me and you talked about, grief isn't just death.
Mm,
And I have friends who have special needs children
mm,
and they feel alone. They're isolated because nobody understands what they're going through. Like with an autistic child, sometimes they can, depending on their triggers, depends on where they can take them. And so now they have nobody to talk to because nobody's going through it like they are. And everybody's afraid to bring up a diagnosis.
mm.
And between that and, like you said, loss of a job, loss of a relationship, a divorce, just because the person's alive doesn't mean you don't mourn that they're gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always say it's a yes and. Here's the thing. First of all, if people don't know, they can't help. So in that means that if you're not letting them know you're really struggling, they can't help. If you're pretending you're fine, they can't help. So whether your child has autism, an addiction, I have a relative whose young daughter has a heart condition. I tough love, elephant in the room. When we need support, we need to be willing to share our story, to say, P.S., it might look like I'm doing okay, but I'm actually a hot mess. And these are the things I need, because I think a lot of people would be willing to help if they knew, right? If they knew. And I mean, here's the
That's
perfect,
another reason why they say, if you need something, tell me.
well,
Because they don't know what to do for you.
if you don't know, you can't help. And so we need to be willing. People say, oh, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want anyone to know what I'm going through. I don't want to be a burden, all that. Well, when we create our compassionate communities, and that's what I say, start with your neighborhood. Say, get to know your neighbors, because when neighbors look out for one another, it can change everything, because your family and friends, they might be caring, and they live maybe far away. They have their busy lives as well. I am creating my compassion neighborhood. We lived here 3.5 years, and I know who lives by themselves, who might need a hand, who's struggling with something. And like the other day, our neighbor down the road, he's going through cancer. He's a young guy. And I said to him, Dave, I know. He said, yes, well, we're very private. And I said, well, I'm just going to throw that out the window, because I'm going to repeat it. If people don't know, they can't help. And his wife was going away. There was a snowstorm. He couldn't shovel his driveway. And I mean, I'm happy to help, but I also have 2 feet of snow in my driveway. Hello, I live in Canada. And so I shoveled my driveway. And then I said, Dave, do you have someone who's going to help you with the driveway? And so he said, well, the guy down the road might help, but they weren't there yet. So I went and I started shoveling, and the neighbor across the street was just finished shoveling. And I said, hey, neighbor, would you mind helping me for 10 minutes? Our friend here isn't feeling well. I didn't share what he's going through. He's not feeling well. I'm just going to help with the driveway. And he's like, absolutely. And he came over and we both shoveled out. And then the neighbor came and shoveled the rest. If we don't know, we can't help. And if you're not willing to say, and so back to your friend whose child has autism, there's beautiful online groups. And I guarantee there's someone in the community. And when there is no support, it's so funny, because I'm laughing, because that's when I said, where are people having these conversations proactively, and who's going to help? And I couldn't find someone. So guess who had to start? Me. If there's no support for for parents with an autistic child? Wouldn't it be wonderful to start one?
I've noticed that, and then Alzheimer's.
Oh, huge journey.
And
Absolutely.
nobody educates about Alzheimer's because all these people are like, I didn't know this would happen. I didn't know this is how it would be. And I'm like, you realize you grieve twice.
Oh, it's like chronic grief, I would say.
Yes, you grieve because you've lost them mentally,
Absolutely.
and then you still have that security of they're alive, they're physically there, but you still
100%.
grieve they're not mom anymore.
And so when we are saying no one's educating us, again, tough love, we also need to seek out
Yes.
support and education. It has to be a two-way street, right? I will tell you, in the past 2 years, my son really spiraled. I have an online support system, an in-person meeting I go to. I have books stacked up here. I have an online program I am educating myself. And when the neighbors are saying, hey, how are things with Ty? If it's a hard day, they're going to know. And when I say we need to go pick him up. He's in Kelowna now, but we had to go pick him up. I'd say, hey, do you mind grabbing the garbage? Because we're not going to be here tomorrow morning. And everyone's just like, oh my God, absolutely. I get to help and I don't have to do anything. Yeah,
I get to help, but I don't
yeah.
have to talk.
And do you mind checking? Yeah, right. And do you mind checking on the cats? And I ask different people from our compassionate neighborhood so that everyone, because it really, that's my whole I just showed up movement, right? When you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, just show up. And when you just show up, it feels good. And that person feels supported. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, that's what I love because you said, as far as having professional help, like you said, you have therapy 1 hour a week. What do you do the rest of the week? What do you do the rest of that day? You need more than just 1 hour.
Oh, Lisa said her job is actually working with people with disabilities and she finds them jobs. That is a beautiful, beautiful job, Lisa. And I have no doubt you have the clients you care about and the things they go through. There's a lot of grief, right? And so when you're in those roles and you're dealing with grief personally and professionally, even more important to have a solid foundation, right? Of
Yes.
what you believe about life and death and how do you grieve. And that my friend Maria talks about healthy mourning, like that grief is that mental, physical, emotional reaction to loss, transitions, and change, even in good grief. And mourning is that external expression of it. You got to get it out. Say, hug it out, punch it out, walk it out, laugh it out. Laughing is good morning, getting it out. And I say, punching it out, pillows, not people. And so when you're supporting other people who have big grief that they're navigating, so important. So I'm glad you're here.
This is my most rewarding part. My worst part is my part of my family is where I'm grieving. So this is I'm my great saving grace, actually.
There you
My
go.
job is.
And it's like that sometimes, isn't it?
Yes,
Right? It's like a
yes.
roller coaster and
Most
they're
rewarding.
wonderful. Wonderful. And so did you want to share anything or what how can we support you? Or
Well, my father passed away in 2011, and the grieving part after losing him was, well, he was my person. And my mom and my sister are the ones that I'm grieving for now because they're still alive, and I feel like they are not alive anymore to me.
mm, mm,
I'm
yeah,
struggling
yes. Um, Don, is
because
it
I
okay if I
can't
jump
do
in?
anything right no matter what I do.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's very challenging, isn't it?
I don't want to be around them anymore. It's like they're not, they are, it's like they're dead to me now.
Mm.
And I
That's a
don't know
lot of
how to
grief to
change
do.
that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Don, do you mind if I just jump in and say a few things and then you
Go
can just
ahead.
I know Dawn personally too.
Oh,
I
good.
love you, Dawn. I can't, I mean, when I seen that online, I was like, oh my God, Dawn, it's Dawn. I just love you to death. I just adored
Ah,
you, growing up. So,
That's so
Aw,
nice.
thank you.
I'm so happy to see what you've grown up to be and do, and I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice.
Thank you.
Um, so first of all, as part of I'm able to support people who are grieving without taking it on, because we don't have to take on someone's pain to know that they're in pain, right? Which is a very challenging. We have to have a lot of coping skills and strategies. What your father's name?
His name is, everybody called him Arthur.
Art?
Art.
Oh, Arthur. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm just sending you love because and thinking of your dad, Art. And it's interesting because I say the people who challenge us the most are our greatest teachers, right? And so when you're seeing someone, and I've said many times, when people are ill prepared for grief, transition, people dying, that many people they might have a pulse, but they're not living. And to witness that, I've seen that more times than I can count. And sometimes we're just so ill prepared, and seeing, wow, like when I hear that story, I think, wow, okay, they have a lot to teach us about what being ill prepared is, about not having a core belief about life and death, and an acceptance that we are all here as long as we're here. Some people live 5 minutes, some 5 years, some 50, some 100. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why some people have shorter journeys. Some seem to have journeys full of grief and loss and crisis. And I don't know why. And that's the other thing, right? That why can be like quicksand. Why did he die when he did? Why can't they move forward? Why? I say, I don't know why. But the greatest gift that you can be in this world is to be the very best version of yourself, with the very healthy boundaries. And that's a whole big thing when it comes to people grieving, and right. What's okay for me right now and what's not okay. And what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, is that right now you're not able to support them in person, or that makes
Removing
sense.
myself
Yeah,
from
yeah.
them.
So those
I
are
have
your
to.
boundaries, self-preservation right now. That doesn't mean they're going to be like that forever. That means right now. And Dr. Gabor Mate says choose guilt over resentment, because when we show up for people and we don't have the capacity, right, we're just depleting ourselves. So it's not a gift to them, it's not a gift to you. And so what for right now is you're not able at this time to support them, and honoring your boundaries and being the best version of yourself that you can be, and learning from their journey. That is the
I got to
greatest
tell
thing
you,
you can do.
one, I don't want to interrupt you, but one of the things, I did not finish college, and the thing that she got a master's degree in art education, and I was a music education major, and I ended up still teaching at the school that she's at as a substitute teacher. I ended up teaching there 18 years, teaching what wanted to go to school for. I ended up getting married and having a child, but I still did the same thing without having that debt. But she still feels like she's way above me, and she's smarter than me, and so much more educated than me. But I'm like, I still did the same thing that you did for 18 years without the debt, and you're at the same school that I was there 18 years before you, and you're retiring there, and here I've still got a job that I love, and I have a very rewarding job helping people, get jobs in the community when nobody else will even give them a chance, and I give them that chance. I teach them jobs, and I just I can't grasp why she can't grasp that. And I have my mom does the same thing. And my mom's like, it's between you two. I have nothing to do with this. I'm like, she says, settle it. I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it no more.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't, I don't understand why my sister thinks she's so much more superior. She just always has been like it. And we are the same age for 6 days. So,
Right.
I can't. And my boss told me, my manager, she's she's a really great person. And she's the one, when I saw this, she says, you need to do this webinar. She's the one who told me to do this.
Awesome.
She recognized it. So,
When I hear what you're saying about your sister, all I can think of, wow, that's so sad for her to be so insecure to have to feel
that's the word. That's what you
like
just
I,
said.
I
That
have compassion for her too, right? Because
you
I mean,
have to, I guess.
well, when you have people builders and people destroyers, right? People who can celebrate, oh my God, you're doing so much better than me. Good for you. When you're confident and comfortable in your own skin, you're not concerned about whether somebody has a degree or not. Like, I don't care.
I didn't
When I
need
was
a
a nurse,
degree to do my job. You
right.
know,
But when somebody, if you can reframe it for yourself and approach from curiosity, like, wow, I wonder where that comes from, because why would that be so important to someone who's competent and confident? However, to be able to, as Dawn's talking about letting go of, and easier said than done, all of this stuff is, but letting
right,
go
right,
of her needing to understand. She may never understand, right? People may never understand why
right,
my son struggles with addiction. Do you know how many times I've heard, well, they're just choosing to do drugs. Why don't they just choose differently? And I
right.
have to go in my Zen place, so I don't want to, right? So I don't want to hurt someone. It's like, oh, I say, I understand it's hard to understand. Like it is no longer my job to make anyone else understand. And I did that for many years. I wanted to defend him and like, you don't know about the, now it's like, yeah. And you know what? It's like, yeah, good for you. You are so much smarter than me. You're right. You're right. Good for
You
you.
have more debt than I do too. So I'm good.
Well, and you're saying,
You know,
I'm just going to go spend some money that I still have. But like you say that part,
I
I'm good.
never said it to her. I've
No.
never said it to her. Just like
And because you
I'm
didn't
happy
need
for you,
to.
Michelle. I'm so
But when
happy for you.
somebody needs to prove themselves better, I mean, to me, that just, all I can hear is insecurity. And I think, oh,
I never thought of it that way.
oh, well,
That is so right. I never thought of it.
oh, a lot. And well, I remember I was a registered nurse, but when I went to school, it was college. So I have a diploma. And I had these new nurses who had a degree, which obviously, like, I was a nurse for whatever, 25 years at the time, and they're coming in with their degree thinking that they know more than us. And I'm like, well, that's adorable. And they would answer the phone. Lori Smith, RN, BSCN. They would say their degree. And you know what? At first I was like, well, I know as much as they do, or I know a lot more. And then I thought, you know what? Good for you. So I would answer the phone, Yvonne Heath, RN diploma. It's just like, I don't need that degree to validate, So it's
Sure,
interesting
sure.
because the reframing, approaching someone with curiosity or compassion, saying, wow, that it's so important for you to, right? Be
Right.
better than me. How sad for you. And I'm glad I don't have that need. It's a lot
It's
to
funny.
unpack, and you are the only person you can change, right? So, and you get to change your perspective and take your power back. You get to do that.
It's true. True.
It's funny
Yes.
you talk
See, I
about
have
the
a lot of
degree.
wisdom from doing it wrong for so many years.
I
I
just hate being called hun. What made her so mad at Thanksgiving? I finally just blew my top, and I'm like, you need to stop calling me hun.
Mm.
I am not your student. I'm definitely not your child. So stop calling me hun. And she's like, oh, I call everybody that. And I said, you're going to stop calling me that. I've asked you several times and stop it. And then and that was it. And she went off,
Yeah,
and they just basically, I said, okay, I'm done. And that was the end of it. I mean, I'm not welcome up there, I guess now. So over that, but
right.
I was been, I mean, I don't want to be called hun by my younger sister. I'm sorry. I'm done.
That is absolutely your boundary. And
I mean,
here's the
I had the right
thing.
when somebody tells me not to call them if their name is Robert and they want to be called Rob. If
Yeah,
they ask me to call them Rob, that's their right
of
as my
course.
job, and I
Of
put up
course.
with it for 10 years.
And
well,
good for
actually longer than
you.
that. So
Good for you for honoring your boundaries. And those are your two choices, right? Letting it go, having your healthy boundaries, or removing yourself. And here's the other ugly truth, elephant in the room. So I hear people say all the time, "Oh, they're my family. I have to spend time with them."
no, I don't.
No, you really don't, actually.
No.
I have many family members that are no longer in my immediate circle because the toxicity, and I always felt like I had to be on guard, and I was constantly grieving the relationship I wish we had. And so
Yes.
I learned to let it go. So, anyways, I hope that was helpful. And
Very much. Thank you so much.
you're most well, and that's the thing, right? We need to talk about these things with someone who can support us.
Yes.
Is someone who's going to just say, get over this, or not have a helpful conversation.
They haven't talked to me since, either one of them. I mean,
So there, and again, there's so many and you need resources, and you need to, to help yourself navigate through this. So in checking in, it's like, what do I need? Right? Because there are also like, no one is we all know what we need more than oh, there's another cat See, we're all cat people here. Dawn, are you a cat
I am
person?
a dog person. I'm sorry, but
I got
I
a
love
dog.
Right, fine.
I got a dog.
me too.
Uh, yeah.
I like beagles. I mean, I'm a beagle person, but I don't mind cats. We have them stray cats around, and we don't have mice, so I don't mind them at all out
There
in the
you
yard
go.
and stuff. So I don't hurt them or anything. I don't feed them. They get plenty of mice.
Well, there
They're
you
good.
go. That's a
Yeah.
win-win.
Yes.
And yes, Dawn, I love that you said you can love people and not like them, and you can also not have them in your circle.
Yes. Thank
Right.
you.
Yes.
My daughter, when she was little, we actually, one day I said something and she even looked at me and said, Mommy, I love you, but I don't like you right now.
I've heard that before.
I said, that's okay, because I don't like you right now either. You need to go
That's
through
right.
It's mutual.
And it's funny you talk about the degree. Like, I have my bachelor's, but I did it for me. I didn't do it for anybody else. I did it for me.
Mhm.
And I call it my bullshit degree. That's my bullshit nurse. Like, I'm a BSN, I'm a bullshit nurse. That's what I usually tell everybody.
It's so funny because it's life
Well,
experience. And, I mean, I'm always happy if someone has education is wonderful. And, there are going to be people who have a degree who not have a degree. And it's the people who just show up with their heart, and they're just showing up with the right intention of helping others that's going to make the difference. Right.
yeah.
So, all right, Dawn, any other juicy questions, or where should we go from here?
I don't know. This has been great. Like I said, I love the fact that we're
I'm
hitting
sorry.
things.
I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
I think I said, we all learn from each other. And, again, those are conversations, even in hearing that, we don't have to be in each other's circle. We don't have to, I'm reminding myself as well. It's right. I believe that every conversation is something we both need to hear. So absolutely. Thank you. Um, Lauren,
And
did you
I'm,
want to say anything? If it is indeed Lauren, I've had many people on Zoom, and it's like, it says Jim, and this lovely woman is like, is your name really Jim? You're welcome to chime in anytime. No? Okay. Perfect.
I think
yeah.
I'm really Lisa, right, Dawn?
Yes, you're really late.
We used to do that line dance thing.
Yes.
Oh, fun.
My dad taught country line dancing, and I
Oh
was
boy, we
probably
really
10.
got it going, didn't we?
Between my ages of like 10 and 13, my dad did that. So that's when Lisa
Oh,
actually knew me.
I think
that is
Christopher was
so
probably
fun.
4. My
Yeah.
son was 4,
Wow.
and he really got it going too. We loved it. But I have bad feet. I've had surgery on my feet because I line danced in such bad shoes.
Oh,
I've got such
not
poor
good.
feet now.
Not good.
It was awful.
So, Dawn, I have a question for you. You say grief recovery coach. Tell me what it is that you do.
I I'd like to support people through their process, give them a safe place where they can talk about their feelings, they can talk about things, and they know it's not going to go anywhere. They don't have to feel shameful. I think that's my big thing. And explaining to people that there is no right way or wrong way to grieve. You grieve however works for you. And I've actually told a family member that not long ago. I said, you do what you need to do. Don't do what you should do. Because if you're doing what you should do, that's somebody else's agenda. That's not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to make it through if you don't do it yourself for you.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the thing, and it's funny because um we want grief to be neat, we want it to be tidy, we want it to be predictable, and it's none of those things. I say it's kind of like a toddler having a tantrum, you know, 1 minute the toddler's fine and all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're on the floor like going and you think,
That's the
oh,
wrong
okay.
cup.
But you know, like it happens, right? And it's like, oh, I'm falling apart right now. And we're so busy trying to hold it together. And that just makes it worse. Try holding on to a toddler having a tantrum. And I want to give people that visual. My grief right now demands to be heard and felt, and it is messy. And I say there is no right or wrong way to grieve. The caveat to that is unless you're hurting yourself or someone else.
Yes.
That to me is the only caveat. And again, you know what you need more than I know. So how wonderful like they have you to speak to or me or you know having those conversations. I'm not going to say to someone, here are the 5 things you need to do. You need to journal, you need to do this, you know, like I don't know. I know that you know what helps to fill your own bucket, right? And the other piece with, you know, people around who don't understand, I say I have a great relationship with my husband because I tell him exactly what I need in the moment. Like I just say, I am a hot mess right now. I'm like, and we check in like I'm a 2 out of 10. Like 10 is great, like you're on top of the world. I'm like, I am maybe a 2 right now. I am gonna bawl my eyes out. I need you to not fix it. I'm not looking for any advice. I just need you to be here. Just show up for me right now. And then I just let it all out.
I
And
just
you
want
know,
you to hold me.
I just, yes. And sometimes I don't want you to touch me. And sometimes I'll let you know. But we need to be okay with allowing mourning the way that works for us and asking our compassionate community, family, neighborhoods, church group, whoever, create your own compassionate support system, your own neighborhood. Be the one that says, you know what, I have 5 people, we've had these conversations, said, I would like you to be on my hot mess list. When I'm a hot mess, I want to be able to let you know and to talk about it before and to understand how grief hits you. When I'm grieving, I get chest pain. The first time when I left my nursing career, I was having such chest pain. I thought that I was having a heart attack. So I took 2 aspirin and thought I'm either grieving or having a heart attack. I don't know which one. And I know this. So would it be wonderful to understand ourselves? And guess what? The best you can do is be proactive, practice, and teach by example. It is not your job to judge or to fix someone. You can't make anyone else happy. You can't make anyone else sad or mad. Elephant in the room. That's us allowing that or not, or being ill prepared. Or, you know, when I walk into a certain room and I know there's a certain relative there, I'm like, okay, wah, the shields are up. I understand they're going to say something that has a potential, forgive my language, to piss me off.
Yeah.
That is on me. Because, you know, here's the thing. An apple's always going to be an apple. You can wish all you want it was an orange. Right?
Right.
Everyone is in charge of themselves. We're the only ones we can change. And so I have my 7 takeaways that I'm happy to share, like that I believe are essential principles to live life to the fullest, learn how to grieve and support one another. And the first is the best time to talk about, plan, and prepare for grief transitions and end of life is when we are young and healthy. And the next best time is now. Be proactive. Think about things ahead of time. We are all here. We all have an expiration date. I tell my kids all the time, we're all here as long as we're here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here.
Nobody's getting out alive.
We've normalized these conversations. That's right. As far as I know, that's what I say. As far as I know, like normalize these conversations. And I don't sit here and hope and pray I'm going to live till 104. I want to because I have
Oh no,
stuff.
gosh, no. I don't want to live that long.
Well, there you go. But I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So I'm going to live the heck out of my life right now. Right. And I have all these sayings. I have sayings all over my like inspiring sayings and everything. And this will be a good one. Don't give away your time to things that don't matter. Don't give away your time to things that don't matter. Your sister understanding you doesn't matter. My
So
father understanding why I'm away doesn't matter.
one of the things I really think about is, I mean, I do love my mom, but I always called my mom's mom my mom's mom. I didn't grieve her loss because she was such a horrible grandmother and mom to my mom.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm gonna miss my mom when she's gone. I feel terrible about that because she changed the cycle. You know, she wasn't an alcoholic. She wasn't one who beat and abused us, but she is reminding me now of what my mom's mom was like at her age now.
Right. Right.
I feel like I'm going to regret the way I'm feeling now when she does die.
You're grieving the way you thought you should. You're pre-grieving.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to be, am I going to feel, you know what I don't know. Am I going to feel like I'm going to want to kill myself if I don't, you know what I mean? Am I going to feel suicidal after my mom dies, that I feel like this now, that I don't really care about my mom right now?
Can you make yourself feel anything? Can you force yourself to feel more love? And can you make
Not
yourself?
now. I can't for sure.
No,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like you can't make you, it sounds like you wish you felt differently.
I do. I do,
There you
but I
go. You
don't.
wish you felt differently.
But
Choose
I
guilt
don't.
over resent. You feel how you feel. I have a relative that lives right in town that I have not seen for a year and a half.
I live
And I,
right next door to her, and that's the thing right there. When I drive up the driveway, I don't want to stop. I just turn right into my
and
driveway and no
you,
regrets.
you feel how you feel. And here's the thing for you, a good for you for thinking ahead of time, be proactive, think about that. And you think, yes, I probably will feel a lot of things. I will feel awful. I may feel guilty. I may feel all of these things. And there's nothing that you can't make yourself. It's funny because I sent a letter to this relative and it was like, I felt like I was being so evolved and spiritual. And I said, we're at a crossroads. You're incapable of real conversations. I'm incapable of small talk. Let's just move on. You live your best life. I wish you nothing, like no ill, you and
Yeah,
your
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
person can be happy in life. Well, and I wrote this letter and I said, and I'm going to do the same. I have other things that I need to focus on. Take good care. I wish you all the best. And now, did you hear the I'm incapable of small talk? So like a month later, I got, so how's everything going? Was your trip everything you wanted? Right. There you go. That was I just like, okay, remember when I said, please refer to the
Incapable
previous
small talk.
letter. Like he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. And I felt that letter was a good opportunity for him to understand. I wished him well, and let's just part ways. And he's not going to
Yeah.
get it. I reminded him, and it like he's just being wrong done by me. And you know what? It is not my job to make him understand. I did what I needed to do to feel right. And so that would be worth something worth exploring. Like, what will I need to do to help support myself for this future event? For this,
Well,
most likely
we've
I will
always done
outlive.
everything they've asked, or she's asked. If she calls and asks my husband, "Can you come and help me do this? Can you come and help me do that?" And which she does all the time. My sister still, because my sister did lose her husband at age 46 about 4 years ago from cancer, with three kids, one just out of high school, one in junior high or 10th grade, and one in seventh grade. So we've
Okay.
always helped her, but then she's definitely still using that as,
Yeah.
there's a long story behind that too, which I definitely
Uh,
need therapy over.
Well, that's the
But
thing. Yeah. I mean,
it's
sometimes we just,
we've helping, but
yeah,
it's
and
being used and used and used. And
healthy
we
boundaries,
do
my
help.
friend.
We do
Healthy
always
boundaries.
help every time.
Yeah.
And
And
that's we're starting to get tired of it. And those boundaries are starting to be set.
well, I mean, because that's
So,
only up to you, right? When people
right.
say, "Oh, I always have to do everything," it's like, no, you don't. You're choosing to do everything. Sorry, again, tough love. But when you're
Has
starting
to
to
be.
deplete yourself, and again, I think most of the time, for most of our regular normal grief, when someone dies and we're sad, and yes, we just need our compassionate neighborhood and family, friends, community. And sometimes when things are really complex, that is the time to get extra help. 100%. What you're talking about is very complex. So I love therapy. I think therapy is amazing.
I've
I
never
would
done
have
it.
therapy oh my God, it's a lot.
I know I need it. I know I need it.
Well, good for you.
I
All you
know.
have to do is try, right?
Yeah, and with this job that I have, I mean, my manager is a wonderful resource to talk to, and I mean, she's done this for 30 years or so, so she's been a great big help. I
Good.
mean, probably helped me survive a lot of things,
Yeah.
but she's the one, like, whenever I told her about this, I'm like, look what popped up. I said, oh my gosh, I know this girl,
Well, there
and
you
then
go.
she
It's a
said, you
good
need to
start.
watch this, and
It's a good
then
start.
yeah.
Maybe
You
reach
know,
out to Dawn, right? To move forward.
Yeah, see, I do have insurance. I don't know if insurance covers this kind of stuff, so
Well,
we'll
well,
see.
you two can talk about that another
Yes.
time. But there's lots of resources out there and there's a lot of help. And it starts with saying, I need some help. I mean, I've needed
Yeah,
lots
I
of
know I do.
throughout
Yeah,
my
I do
process. So
because
good for
I'm
you.
struggling. I'm
Yeah.
struggling.
So sending you love, and this is a very good step for you. And Lauren, I hope that this is helpful for you, even just having this conversation, because again,
I hope I didn't take over everything for you
well,
guys.
here's the thing though, right? Grief is grief. Whatever you're grieving or struggling with, we all have things that we are navigating, right? And grief is that heartache, and sometimes we feel like, I don't know if I can move forward. I don't know if I will ever have a life where that's joyful again. I mean, and here's the thing is that you never know what awaits on the other side of grief. And not that grief ever goes like you don't just like suddenly one day grief is all gone. There will be many times in your life you'll have like a grief attack. Something happened 10 years ago and you're like, oh my gosh, look at me. I just fell apart. I'm all over the floor. That happened
Right.
10 years ago. And you just need to mourn. You just need to get it out. And so imagine if people understood that. And the way we heal is however we need to heal, to mourn it, to talk about it, to have people say, wow, that sounds really hard, to give you the space, right? Dawn, you talked about just that safe space. Why can't we just give each other safe space, right? Like
Right.
just to fall apart and be a disaster.
well, it made me think you talking about your son. Alcoholics have a sponsor. NA has sponsors. Why can't
Yes.
you have a sponsor for grief?
That's an awesome, right? Yeah. And it can be, like you said, that's your hot mess buddies. I'm a hot mess today. And you call, so you have a few people and your friend, you call your friend and they say, you know what? Checked my boundaries. I'm out for today. Because right, like you have to also check in mentally, physically, emotionally, and your capacity, what you're capable of right now and what you're not, as you stretch to become capable of more and practice. But it doesn't matter if you're a therapist, if you're a counselor, if you're a nurse, if whoever you are, there will be times in your life that you've got nothing to give in this moment,
I had
right?
a friend
I
tell
love
me,
these conversations. And sometimes when, if there was a crisis right now in my family, I wouldn't be having this conversation. So it can't be just up to that person because they're a professional or that friend because she always listens. We need everyone.
I laugh because self care is another thing I noticed on your TED talk. It's selfish if you don't do self care. And
Yes. And we
I
need
had
we need compassion care. We need community care. We need our community to be a part of our journey.
I had a friend tell me her son looked at her and said, "Mommy, do you love me more or do you love you more?" And she stopped for a minute. She says, "I love me more."
Huh.
And said he was like, ah. She said, "No, I love me more. And once I'm full, then I can pour into you. So I have to love me more than I love you."
Right.
And it
And
only
that
makes
explains
sense,
life.
right?
That's just
Yeah.
life. That's not kids. I can't love anyone if I don't love myself.
And that's where the bullies, the people destroyers, the I'm always, cloaked in misery and darkness. And and looking for other people to do it for us. So my biggest secret, then the I just showed up movement, and I always have this bracelet on, hashtag I just showed up. And I was going to say I'd be happy to send one to anyone, except that we have a Canadian mail strike. We have had no mail since the middle of November.
Oh, wow.
Nothing. Oi. Anyway, someday it shall, hopefully before the holidays. Um, but when you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, just show up, and that absolutely non-negotiable. Show up for yourself first. When I am upset, when I am grieving, when I am like, oh my gosh, I am struggling, I need to go outside and make someone laugh. I need to go and pay someone a compliment. If anybody ever saw the movie Patch Adams, did you ever see that
Oh my
movie?
gosh. Yes.
Okay, well, I just went on a
Yes.
humanitarian clowning trip with the real Patch Adams.
Oh my
Like the
gosh.
real, yes, that's right. I have the pictures to prove it. Oh, absolutely. The real Patch Adams, who is 79 years old, has had a below knee amputation, and he shows up for people who are grieving the most, suffering the most. And like we went to visit teenagers in prison, we went to visit those who are homeless, we went to visit, and even to do something like this to make yourself and someone else feel better. When I'm having a hard day, I'm going to go out like this and I'm going to make someone smile because then I fill my own bucket and it helps them too. And that's what we did. We sat with people who were struggling, like suffering huge traumatic loss. And we sat there with them like this. At first, I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? But it gave them a break from the suffering. It gave them a break from life. And it also fills your own heart. So you see, even as we're grieving and struggling, we can fill our own hearts. We can do things to help ourselves feel better, right? As opposed to leaving that to everybody else. See, I made you smile, even if, like, God, she's weird, but it doesn't matter, right? We need to, thank you. We need to get good at knowing what we need, at filling our own buckets. We're not out there, trying to say you don't need to just show up for people and save them. The very best you can do is my PPE, which used to be personal protective equipment in COVID. My PPE is be proactive, practice, and teach by example. Teach by example, teach people by your own examples. Like, you know what? If I want to be helpful to other people, I need to fill my own bucket. I need to know how I grieve. I need to be okay to mourn, to create my compassionate community around me so I know who will support me in my darkest times, and to make myself laugh and smile instead of trying to, everyone else needs to fix me. We can only fix us and get support personally and professionally that we know we need. Right? We could have this conversation all day. I know we could. It's almost already 11. How did that happen? Oh my goodness.
And I was
Wow.
like, we've already hit the hour. And I was like, I swear, like 30 minutes, 45.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
I
sorry.
know.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we would have
I
done it
love these
whether you talked or not,
conversations.
Lisa.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, trust. No, this is important. I always
I
believe
didn't
that.
think I hardly ever talk on these things. And it's
I'm glad you did. You needed to. And I believe that these ladies are happy that you shared, right? There you go. because to create that space for someone who's struggling. Like right now, I'm having a good day. My son's in rehab. He's in rehab for 90 days. And people say, "Oh my gosh, how are
Good
you
for
doing?"
him.
I said, "I know my son's safe and getting
He's
the help he
alive.
needs.
Yes,
He's alive. He's alive.
He's alive. Many of his
that's
friends
right.
are not. So today's a good day for me. And I'm happy that I just showed
Good,
up, and I'm happy that you just showed up. So thank you for just
good.
showing up.
Well, I do want to thank you, Yvonne. Maybe we can do it again in the future.
If we can find something to talk about, I don't
No,
know.
Thank you so much.
I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if I don't know if there's enough
Yeah,
to
maybe not.
grieve. There ain't a whole
I
lot
don't
of
know.
grief.
I'm pretty sure we can figure something out. Well, and I do hope everyone, I have resources on my website. Dawn is a beautiful resource. I do my TED talk that I is helpful. It's 14 minutes. It's just that reminder about the importance of just showing up.
You say
It's
TED Talk?
yes, it's
We
I
do a
just
lot
actually
of TED
14
Talk
minutes.
with our show, with our business, Blue River Services. We watch a lot of TED Talk.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, I did a
I
TED talk, so there
I
you go.
posted her TED Talk on my webpage.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
Okay.
link is there.
Okay.
awesome. But my website, Love Your Life to Death, this all of this requires ongoing learning, unlearning, evolving, and supporting one another. So, it does my heart good to have these conversations. This fills my bucket.
Yeah,
And
it
just
helps.
remember, as we're moving through the holidays and everything, it's a roller coaster of grief and joy. Allow the joy in, create the joy, find a foam nose to put on or something
Yeah,
silly.
because this started off pretty bad. Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday. It's my favorite food holiday over any of them, and then definitely started out badly
But you
this
see,
year.
it
So,
created an opportunity for you, like, okay, I need to do something differently,
Mhm.
right? You're like, I
well,
need,
we're staying at my house. My son is coming to my house. My grandkids and his wife were doing my house, and then we're going to go to my mother-in-law's house. So I
wonderful.
don't know what's planned at my mom's house because I'm not going. I don't care if
Very
I'm invited. I'm not going. So it don't matter.
Yep.
good. Keep just showing up and figure out what you need and have your healthy boundaries.
Yep.
So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
Always
you
happy to have these
very
conversations.
much. I
All right.
appreciate it so
Take
much.
good care. Thank you, Dawn, for the invite.
Thank you, Yvonne, for accepting.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.